So in my last video, we talked about the Tesla Cybertruck, which is one of the most polarizing vehicles I think I've ever seen in my entire life. And as a result, I was a little bit on the fence about it in my video. I said, look, I can understand why people think that it's very ugly. I used to think that myself when I first saw it, but I have to admit that it's starting to grow on me. Well, ever since making that video, I received several comments and even messages on Instagram telling me that I should be more decisive. I should take a stance on how I feel about it. One person even said that I need to be more like Jeremy from Financial Education. I need to just take a stance and decide whether I like it or not. Okay, fine, you little trolls. I'll take a stance. I'll make a decision. If I was forced to choose between the Cybertruck being like a major failure for Tesla, or being kind of a niche play, just kind of selling more in the middle, or being a major success for Tesla and selling very well, I'm going to predict that it's actually going to be a major success for Tesla. And in today's video, I'm going to give you 10 different reasons why I think that. I just hope that in the future I don't get a bunch of comments from people saying, looks like this video didn't age well. What's up everyone, my name is Ale. Welcome back to my world of stocks. By the way, if you hear some background noise, there's gardeners like blowing leaves and stuff outside, so I apologize for that. But and by the way, I was just kind of joking around about the trolls and stuff. My core audience, I love you guys. Please hit the like button if you enjoy the video. It really helps the channel. But let's just go ahead and start with the reasons why I'm starting to turn more bullish on the Tesla Cybertruck as time goes on. But starting with reason number one. Now, you probably remember in my previous video, I talked about the fact that this thing should come in different colors, especially in black. And why did I feel that way? Well, in my opinion, one of the biggest reasons why everyone is really hating on the Cybertruck is because of its futuristic yet very simple kind of angular design with sharp edges. And in my opinion, the stainless steel body is a bit too bright, and I feel like it makes these features really pop out at you, making the divisive appearance even more polarizing than it really needs to be. We'll switch that color up with a deep black, and I think it would not only subdue that futuristic space-like design, but I also think that it would make it look tougher, like some sort of police or kind of military vehicle. And especially at night with its bright lighting bars on the top and bottom of the front, I just think that would look so dope, kind of like the Tumbler from the Batman movies. And I think it still turns heads, but in a more subdued way that can appeal to a little bit of a wider audience. Well, it just so happens that others have been asking Elon Musk on Twitter for this option as well, and he went ahead and responded to a couple of them. Now, here's one asking for matte black, and Elon Musk responded sure, and then this other one asked for oxide black, and Elon responded yes. Well, that led to people going crazy with different color renders showing white, different steel colors, and even different vinyl wraps, which is something that I hadn't even considered in my previous video, as the options with that could theoretically be endless, although it would require more work that I'm not really convinced that the average person would be willing to do after the purchase. But that's ultimately reason number one, is the black color. And I know that that sounds kind of dumb, but I would not underestimate the power that a black color could have in subduing the polarizing design a little bit of the Cybertruck and make it appeal to more people. Now, I'm not saying that nobody's just gonna all of a sudden not want the stainless steel version. I'm sure a lot of people prefer that one, but I'm just saying that offering a black option could widen its reach a little bit more for the Cybertruck. And that brings me to reason number two, which is going to be that I think we're going to see more and more influencers jump on board with the Cybertruck because it looks so different and catches so much attention, which is exactly what influencers want, is attention. And because they are influencers, I think that they will influence people to purchase the Cybertruck themselves. In fact, you're already seeing a lot of people, including major YouTubers, kind of flip-flop on their original opinions and now deciding to buy the truck after having thought about it more. Even Marquise Brownlee, who already has a Model X, is actually ordering the Cybertruck. And then even PewDiePie, who is like a gamer, is bringing attention to it as well, asking for a Halo Warthog version, which I do think would look kind of cool. But Musk responded to that by saying that it will actually have some pretty sick attachments. Now, that actually brings me to reason number 3, which is that it will have added options and attachments. For example, one thing that I've been saying for years now is that Tesla should put solar panels on their vehicles to extend their range. Well, it just so happens that the Cybertruck has a mostly flat, rectangular kind of shaped roof on the bed that would be perfect for solar panels. And once again, Elon Musk took the opportunity on Twitter to mention that it will in fact be an option to add solar power to the truck that adds 15 miles per day or maybe even more. He even went as far as to say that he would actually love to see the Cybertruck be self-powered, noting that if they added solar wings, it could generate another 30 to 40 miles per day as well. Considering that the average person only drives around 30 miles in the US, this could actually be huge. In fact, I drive a similar range myself, and because I live in a mostly sunny environment, my Cybertruck could potentially be self-powered. That's really cool to kind of think about. But this brings me to reason number 4, which is something that nobody seems to be considering, and that's that while the Cybertruck only starts at $40,000, making it super appealing to people and very affordable and kind of catching their attention, once you add self-driving for another $7,000 and any other options or add-ins on top of that, which by the way, Elon also mentioned that the ATV that the internet is currently going crazy over will start out exclusively as an add-on to the Cybertruck. Well, guess what? That average selling price for the Cybertruck is going to be huge, and that will likely translate to higher margins for Tesla and more profitability. And keep in mind that its overall body and exoskeleton is so angular and flat that there's really no need for expensive stamping to curve the shape. So we could theoretically be seeing a truck that actually doesn't cost Tesla too much to produce, but then with all of the add-ons and premium specs, they end up selling it for a much larger profit. In fact, only a couple days after the presentation, Elon took to Twitter to mention that the best-selling versions of the Cybertruck are actually the most expensive. Keep in mind that there's a 40,000 version, a 50,000 version, and a 70,000 version. Well, what's crazy is that the 70,000 version was almost the best-selling one, falling short by only 1 percentage point away from the 50,000 version. That came out to 41% and 42% of orders respectively, but the 40,000 version only made up 17% of pre-orders. And what's funny is that everyone was thinking, okay, this thing is so ugly that the only people that are going to buy it are the ones spending the least amount of money because it's not really worth the big investment. But the fact that the more expensive versions actually sold by an enormously higher amount says to me that actual truck drivers that want amazing performance and power may actually be considering the Tesla. And we'll get back to those raw total sales numbers in just a second because they have actually climbed quite a bit since then. But this brings me to reason number 5, which is that I actually think that the Tesla could penetrate the extremely well-established and hard to break into truck market after all. Keep in mind that the 3 best-selling vehicles in America are trucks, with the Ford F-150 leading the pack for 42 years in a row. That tells me that truck drivers are likely to be extremely loyal to their brands, especially the Ford F-150. But in my opinion, that's exactly why Tesla needed to come out with a very radical design. If they had just made a conventional looking truck, sure, it would have probably sold well, but I'm not convinced that it would have been enough to get truck drivers to switch to a more eco-friendly electric vehicle. I don't want to stereotype truck drivers here, but I've never really thought of them as people that would want to own a flashy Tesla or an electric vehicle. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I don't want to get all political on here, but I'm just saying that that's not really how I envision truck drivers. Now, the counter argument to that is, of course, well, if the Cybertruck is very flashy, then why in the world would truck drivers want to buy it? And let me just say, first of all, that is a great point, and I think it could definitely hurt Tesla's sales among truck drivers. But what you have to keep in mind is that truck drivers generally prefer power and performance over anything else and functionality. And obviously the Cybertruck delivers on that front. In fact, their specs are so amazing that even the biased media can't really make fun of the Cybertruck for any of those reasons. And ultimately, that seems to be what we're seeing in the pre-order numbers, as more people are choosing the more powerful version. So I kind of see it as like a two-pronged attack. On one hand, you have amazing specs for those that want power, performance, and functionality. But on the other hand, you have a crazy looking design that looks different enough to really stand out among a sea of already deeply established pickup trucks. I'm not saying that it's guaranteed to work, but I can understand why Tesla is doing it, and the more that I really think about it, the more that it starts to make sense to me. And that brings me to reason number 6, which is the design. Now, many people consider this to be a huge flaw or a con for the Cybertruck, but I actually kind of see it as a pro, because even if this thing ends up not selling well to hardcore pickup truck drivers, I think it can still appeal to others. And to understand why, I think that we need to take a better or a closer look at the market. Sure, in America, pickup trucks are the top 3 best-selling vehicles, but if you zoom out a bit, you can see that trucks only make up 17% of the US market, while crossovers actually make up nearly 40%, and that's not even including SUVs at another 8%. And globally, the difference is even more dramatic, with SUVs making up a massive 36%, while trucks are only a meager 6%. Well, tell me something, guys, is it just me, or when you look at the Cybertruck with the bed covered, do you get more of a traditional pickup truck vibe, or do you see some kind of weird looking SUV or crossover type vehicle? I actually get a little bit more of an SUV vibe myself, yet again, when you retract that back roof, you've got a pickup truck with market leading power and performance for those that want or need it. You're talking about at the top tier, towing capacity of like 14,000 pounds. That's like industry leading. And so because that design is kind of so different, it looks like it's borrowing things from all of these different types of vehicles, and yet it also has amazing speed to go along with it, kind of like a supercar. You're talking about 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds, and we know that that top tier vehicle is selling the best. That's why I think that it can actually attract several different audiences. And I also think that's why I got so many comments in my last video from people saying that they are not necessarily truck people, but even they want to buy the Cybertruck. And that's why I think the design is actually a pro and not necessarily a con. Whether it actually breaks into the traditional truck market will be difficult to predict at this time, but even if it only sells to a relatively small audience there, I think it has the potential to also sell to SUV drivers, maybe crossover drivers, maybe sedan drivers, and even luxury or possibly even sports car drivers, because it is so radically different and kind of borrows a little bit from each kind of segment. So when you really add it all up, I think that all of these different audiences can kind of stack up and result in more meaningful sales for Tesla. Because when I look at this, I really see a concept looking vehicle that nobody has ever seen before, and it has unbelievable performance. And as a result, I think a lot of people were expecting it to be very expensive. I know a lot of my friends and family thought that it would cost like closer to $100,000 when they kind of looked at it and I told them some of the specs before they knew the price. Yet the reality is that this thing is actually super affordable, especially for the value that you get. And that brings me to reason number 7, which is that while the Cybertruck can absolutely go up in price by a lot, it actually starts at the same price as a Model 3, yet it has so much more functionality. As I'm sure you know, the Model 3 currently starts for about $40,000, just like the Cybertruck. And we all know that the Model 3 has sold incredibly well, even at these price points. As Clean Technica points out, it consistently makes the top 10 ranking of cars in America, yet most of these cars actually start for a base price in the low $20,000 range, if not the high teens, while the Model 3 starts at nearly double the amount, yet it's still incredibly competitive in terms of sales. And this is at a time when vehicle sales are actually plateauing heavily across the world over the past 3 years or so, as you can see on this chart here from Statista. But while most major automakers are actually seeing their vehicle deliveries decline, Tesla is actually seeing tremendous growth. According to Investors Business Daily, some of the most popular automakers like Ford, Toyota, and even Honda are seeing some pretty ugly declines, while Tesla is actually up over 65% this year. So if you're telling me that a Cybertruck with all of its specs and functionalities that starts for the same price as a Model 3, which is just like a little sedan, and that's not even mentioning that at the highest price point of the Cybertruck at like $70,000, you actually get the most range out of any other Tesla on the road at over 500 miles of range. range, which was previously the most range was held by the Model S at 373 miles, but that version actually costs $80,000. So it would cost you $10,000 more than the most expensive version of the Cybertruck, and you would actually get less range by over 100 miles. So if you're telling me that the Cybertruck, with all of this amazing performance and specs and functionalities, cannot sell well in America, where the three best-selling vehicles are actually trucks and the market is dominated by crossovers and SUVs, then I'm sorry, but I just flat out disagree with you. And that brings me to reason number 8, which is that the Cybertruck is already selling reservations incredibly well. As much as the media and analysts keep trying to push this narrative that it won't sell well because it's too weird looking and because they accidentally broke 2 windows during their presentation, as if that's some sort of big deal, with Credit Zeus saying that Ford and GM can breathe a sigh of relief, while others are saying that it can only be a niche offering like a Hummer, which, by the way, Hummers have been discontinued for years now, so that's not exactly like a good comparison to say, you know, for the Cybertruck. That's kind of like an insult almost. Well, guess what? The Cybertruck is already surpassing everyone's expectations. As I mentioned before, Elon took to Twitter on Saturday to announce that they had already counted 146,000 pre-orders only about 2 days since the unveiling, and it didn't stop there. Literally the next day, Elon updated his tweet saying that they had already added another 41,000, totaling 187,000 orders by just the next day. And it didn't stop there either. Literally only hours later, Elon updated the tweets by adding that they had now reached over 200,000 pre-orders. That's pretty crazy considering that they haven't spent any money on advertising. And that brings me to reason number 9, which is that the design is so crazy looking that it's bringing a huge amount of attention to Tesla's brand without them having to even spend any money on advertising. It's almost like this thing will kind of sell itself, and that ultimately means more profitability for Tesla, making the Cybertruck an overall success. Not to mention that even if people don't like the Cybertruck, Tesla has several other vehicles to market to you while you're thinking about the brand, including the upcoming Model Y that will likely be the best seller of all their vehicles, and in my book, that ultimately makes the Cybertruck a success as well. Now, granted, these are only pre-orders that we're talking about, and of course, CNBC didn't want to go down without a fight, as they kind of were forced to report the numbers because it gets clicks on the internet, but they just couldn't pass up the opportunity to use it in an effort to make Tesla look bad yet again, as they put out an article with their headline reading, "Elon Musk says Tesla has received 187,000 orders for its Cybertruck despite botched debut." And then they show an image of Cybertruck's window cracked, and they write in the description, "In his boastful tweets, Musk conflated orders with pre-orders, which are distinct from a final commitment to purchase a Cybertruck." Okay, I may have exaggerated my voice there a little bit, but I just can't stand how shady they are. It's just so obvious to me that they always try to put kind of a negative spin to any kind of news about Tesla. But anyway, despite the fact that the pre-orders are actually refundable, I completely see it as a positive, which brings us to reason number 10. Here's the thing, guys. Very few of us can actually afford a Tesla, but what we can afford is a $100 refundable deposit on a Tesla. And that means that for the next 2 years or so, people can literally brag to their family and friends about having ordered a Tesla. Now, whether you actually go through with that purchase or not is not a huge deal to me. Some people will cancel and get a refund. Some people will keep their commitment and actually buy the Cybertruck in the future. But all the meanwhile, we're still like 2 years away from the actual release of the truck. And I think all the meanwhile, people are going to be talking about it to their friends and family, saying that they kind of ordered one, and it's going to make people like jealous and make them want to order one as well. And another thing that I feel like nobody is really considering is that during all of this time, again, you may not be able to afford a Tesla right now, but maybe in 2 years you can. I mean, you've got essentially 2 years to either save up money or earn more money. And I'm not saying that that's what you should do. I'm not telling you to go out and buy a Cybertruck. I'm just saying that I think a lot of people may look at this and say, hey, I can lock in my price now, which we know that the $7,000 autonomous self-driving feature that locks in your price, even though if it goes up, that's what it basically said on the order screen. And my guess is that that price is probably going to go up a lot in the future when they really fully release autonomous driving. So you kind of lock in your price now for only $100, and you've got 2 years to figure out a way to actually pay for the Cybertruck. And that's a great kind of advertising strategy. I think it's brilliant for Tesla to do this, put a very low kind of entry, $100, make it fully refundable, and you've got so many people saying, hey, I could afford $100 now, and I can try to afford the full Cybertruck price in the future. And that's probably why we're seeing these pre-order numbers climb by such high amounts every day. Now, I'm gonna give you guys a bonus reason. Bonus reason number 11. I actually pre-ordered a Cybertruck myself, and we all know that I have like millions of subscribers, so obviously that's going to be a huge deal. But what's funny is this is definitely anecdotal, but I sent like a screenshot to some of my friends and family, and some of them have been saying that this Cybertruck is ugly since the day that it was announced. And again, this is anecdotal, but some of them have already ordered it themselves, maybe as a result of me ordering it. So now I've got like friends and family that are actually ordering the Cybertruck as well, which is kind of funny. And I just think that people are looking at this as, well, you know, if I change my mind, I can always just get a refund. It's only $100. It's like putting it into like a savings account and I can just refund it. But it's a great way of getting people to go onto the Tesla website, setting up an account, and you know, putting in your email address and just giving Tesla access to a big pool of people that they can kind of advertise to and try to sell the Cybertruck in the future. But you know, in the future, there's going to be more and more features and functionalities that come out about the Cybertruck, and they'll announce more things and try to make it sound cooler and cooler. And all the meanwhile, people can try to get to the point where they can actually afford the Cybertruck. Anyway, that does it for today's video. What did you think about all my different reasons? Let me know down in the comment section below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure you hit the like button. It really helps support the channel, and make sure you subscribe. We talk about Tesla and a number of other stocks as well, and companies in my channel, so I would love to have you. But with all that said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.